Good evening. This is the meeting, the virtual meeting of the Corporate Policy and Finance Committee on Wednesday, the 10th of March 2021. The first item on the agenda is apologies, and Dan is going to be the officer responding to queries tonight. So if I could ask you, Mr. Williams, do we have any apologies for absence?
No, Chair, none received.
Okay. Any members, are there any declarations of interest? Bert?
I assume, as you haven't taken over opposite Park, we still need to declare that non-pecuniary interest, don't we? Or as in the last
I don't think it's on this agenda tonight.
No, okay. I did wonder.
Yeah, no, it's not on the agenda, so I don't think so. Okay, any other declarations of interest? No? Okay, I have no items in the chairman's report. Dan, are there any urgent items you would like to bring to our attention?
No, there's no urgent items, Chair. Thank you.
No, thank you. Right, are there any public questions in accordance with Standing Order 22?
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Right, if we move on to the minutes, we have two sets of minutes to approve tonight. The first is the minutes of the Corporate Policy and Finance Committee meeting held on the 6th of January. Are there any comments or queries about those minutes? No? No, I don't see anything. Okay, can I see a show of hands that we've accepted the minutes? Right, that's unanimous. The minutes have been unanimously accepted. The second is the minutes of the Extraordinary Corporate Policy and Finance Committee meeting held on the 13th of January. Any queries on those minutes? No? Okay, can I take it that we accept those minutes? Can I see a show of hands? Again, I think that's unanimous. Paul, was that to show that you accepted it, or was that a question?
Both of those. I was just raising my hand to say accepted it.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Okay. Right. We also have minutes which have been referred to us by the Corporate Policy, by the Accounts and Risk Subcommittee meeting held on the 28th of January. Again, we've been asked to receive those minutes. Can I see a show of hands, please? Okay, I think we can confirm that we have, and Paul has shown it, so we have received those minutes. Thank you all. Okay, we can now move on to agenda item number 7. Now, normally I indicate the page number to help you work your way through the reports. Unfortunately, they've been printed out this time without the page numbers. It's quite difficult for officers to operate at the moment with COVID. They're having to go in and out of the office, so these sorts of things do happen. But if I do it on the basis of just the number of the report, and you can find them, work out where they are yourself. The first one is the forward planner and resolution tracker. It's on page 11. Right, we have been asked to note and approve the forward planner and resolution tracker, subject to any comments or amendments, and note the resolution tracker. On the forward planner, are there any comments or queries on the forward planner? No. No, nobody's raising their hand. Okay, so can I take it that we have noted and approved them? Yes, a show of hands. And Paul has raised his hand. Thank you. 2.1.2, the resolution tracker appendix B, we've just been asked to note that. Are there any questions on the resolution tracker? No. Can I take it that then we have noted the resolution tracker Again, can I have a show of hands, please? Okay, Paul's up, so that's unanimous. If we move on then to agenda item 7.2, and that is review of service level agreements. We've been asked to do two things: to note this report and to approve the extension of the Harpenden District Local History Society agreement until the 31st of March 2022. And information on that is at paragraph 3.1.3. So first of all, can I ask you to note this report, please? Well, are there any questions on it, first of all? No? So can I ask you to note the report, please?
Sorry, Mary, I'd like to ask a question, please.
Okay, you would like to, Roger?
Yes, thank you. And maybe relatedly, I should declare a non-pecuniary interest in that I'm a member of the Harpenden Local History Society, and I'm the council's, one of the council's two representatives on that society. But I have a question relating to 3.1.3. For the reason just explained, I'm very much in favour of the History Society and them continuing to be funded by the Town Council. But I'm just wondering whether we've fully taken account of the fact that they will move into their new facility at the Culture Centre, hopefully in or not long after May, and whether that might mean they would need less money from us for the forthcoming municipal year, or on the contrary, why they might need more money from us, and just whether that's been taken into account either way.
Yeah. Roger, I've just realised I also am a member of the History Society. I'm also a representative from the Town Council. My understanding is that they're staying in our premises for an extra year because there have been some delays in moving into the new premises. I'll turn over to Dan and ask if he has an update on that.
I haven't got an update on that, but I just wanted it to be clear that the 2,900 relating to the History Society, there's no actual funds that leave the council, it's just an accounting entry. So we show the fact that we've issued the grant, but then we also show the income received in by Park Hall. So there's no actual funds that leave the authority and go to the society. So if something was to change and there was to be an in-year movement, we could prorate that 2,900, but it wouldn't have any impact on the bottom line of the accounts for the council, because it's really, we need to show the expenditure going out to the society, but also the income coming into Park Hall.
So it's in effect they get the room for rent free.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I saw something about a month ago which said that they were going to have to stay in. They thought they could. It's not actually the use of the room. The room is being used to store all the records. Well, not all, but a proportion of the society's records. It's absolutely full of things like maps, and they were going to move that when they moved, but there has been some delay. But I'm sure officers will sort that out and report back to us when they actually, because when they do move out, we'll have the opportunity to use that room. Rosemary, you're muted.
Hello, I'm unmuted. 312 Harpenden Seniors Forum. I'm just wondering, Dan, if you realise that they've now joined forces with the Harpenden Trust.
Sorry, no, I wasn't aware of that one. I don't know if you know any more, Carl. Sorry.
Carol?
Oh, I think Carl's.
Yeah, Chair. So the funding that goes to the Seniors Forum is for the activities that they undertake. So the arrangement that they've now got with the trust doesn't necessarily change the activities that they deliver that the funding was allocated for.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but I think perhaps people ought to know that. And in that case, maybe I should declare I sit on the Care Fund Committee at the Harpenden Trust.
Bert?
Yeah, going forward, I assume District Council will be charging the History Society for the use of their facility in the new cultural centre. So there will be some debate on whether we fund them past that point.
There is some debate over whether they're going to get charged.
I wondered, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't go to the last
They
committee
might,
meeting. Roger
they-
may know.
they might
it
need the
was
SLA 2 more years, you know, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Carl?
Yeah, Chair. So the arrangement that the History Society will have with the council, the district council, will be a commercial arrangement. So that was very clear right from the start, where they started to discuss having a presence at the new cultural hub. So there is a commercial angle to that. So they will be paying for the space that they have there when they have it.
Okay. Yeah, so they'll no doubt wish to continue to have our grant. Any other questions or comments on any of this? Well, can I ask you first then to note the report, please? Can I have a show of hands? That's unanimous. And secondly, can I ask you to approve the extension of the Harpenden District Local History Society agreement until the 31st of March 2022? Again, unanimous. Thank you all. Moving on to agenda item 7.3. This is the budgetary control figures for 2022-21. We're just being asked to note the report. But first, can I ask if there are any questions on this? John.
Yeah, just a quick one. Obviously, this is a report up to the January 21st. We've only 2 months to go. In fact, now we've only about 3 weeks to go. Can I assume that the outturn for the year should be probably still at about this level? And I'd also say that I think the officers have done extremely well to keep the council's budget, given the circumstances of this year, such that we haven't had to use any general reserves.
I'd like to second that. With so many councils around the country blaming all their financial woes on COVID, I think Harpenden stands out as one who's managed their way through the crisis well and effectively. And I think the officers are to be commended on that. So any other comments? Dan?
I would just to respond, just to say that obviously never say never, but there's no known kind of impact that's going to materially change the figure as shown at the end of January. So we should still be in a favourable position at come year end.
Excellent, thank you, Dan. So any questions, Nigel?
No. Am I unmuted? Muted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This may not be the time to ask the question. It's more sort of for clarification or assistance from the officers. In that previously we were discussing that going forward we may have to be looking at budgeting from top down rather than bottom up, vis-a-vis setting expenditure approvals at various committees. Obviously next year's been taken care of, but when do we have to sort of look at the years after that and sort of begin to introduce this top-down concept rather than bottom-up when it comes to looking at potential expenditure? Maybe now, this is now maybe not the committee to raise it. I just raise it, for future reference.
I think that's a very good point, Nigel, because it's something that very much came out of the council meeting that we needed to start to look at a programme level across our whole portfolio of projects and look at the financial impact every time a new project or a new initiative was discussed. Dan, could you give some insight on when you think some initial ideas about that will be brought forward?
If you check on the forward plan, there's been a report added to that to look at a programme view for the June committee. So hopefully we can consolidate everything where we are up until that point and present that, and then obviously take any feedback on board if things need to be shown differently.
Yeah, because it's the process as much as the current situation, so that whenever anyone makes a decision, they have exactly what the impact of that decision is going to be in front of them. So I think that's that'll be excellent. Look forward to seeing that in June. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mary.
No, I don't see any hands coming up. Okay, then could I ask you then to note this report, and can I have a show of hands, please? Right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 7.4. Oh, this is the youth engagement policy for the council. Before I ask if there's any questions, Matthew Cowley came tonight. He has been one of the 3 councillors who has been a representative on the work group, what's a task and finish group, which has sort of developed this policy. Matthew, would you like to say a few words about maybe how the work group ended up where they are and what you think the importance of this is for the town?
Thanks, Mary. As councillors who've been talking to me for a while about youth engagement will know, this is something that I've been quite keen to push since I was first elected in May 2019. So I'm really pleased that along with councillors Scriven and Hill, we've been able to put together the policy we've got in front. And I'd also like to thank the officers that worked so hard on being able to facilitate the vast amounts of information we asked of them to be able to pull this policy together. So my thanks to those officers and to my fellow councillors who were involved in that process. So a large part of what we looked at was formalising existing informal policies. So things like engaging young people on large projects is something that we do already as a town council. But this policy means that rather than that being something we do because it's good practice, it's something that we do because we, have a formal policy to engage young people. And the nuance there is important because it means that no matter who the officers committees or the councillors are, we will have that policy to engage young people in place. I think the other important thing about this policy is that one thing that we sort of came to a conclusion of is that the best ways to engage young people aren't always obvious and clear. And so one thing that I think this policy does is it enables us to continually review the ways in which we engage with young people in the town, and it commits us to sort of constantly looking at improving the channels through which we engage young people, because there is no one size fits all with doing this. And I think in the same way, the fact that we have a continual youth engagement survey, it will tell young people that through all of this, that we actually care about hearing from young people. Young people aren't just a group in the town who are also there who can get involved if they wish to, but they're a group that we care about just as much as every other group of people in Harpenden. And likewise, I think one thing that came out of it that perhaps surprised me was that young people are really keen to get involved in things like the town council's events, but they don't feel like there are events there for them to take part in. There's nothing sort of tailored to people in their late teens and early 20s. And so I think another part of this, I think it's point 5, I haven't got the agenda in front of me, but I think it's point 5 is about making sure that we have those events that young people can take part in, and that we tailor our offering, as it were, to include young people. And then I think the final thing that I personally think is a really useful part of this is point 6 about having a sort of annual report from a version of the youth engagement working, can't remember if it's group or party, but the organisation that I chaired last year. Having that democratic accountability that means that this doesn't sort of go on the back burner. This is a policy that is being reviewed by councillors, and we're making sure that we are following the policies that we've set out, because we want this to be more than just a sort of us talking about engaging young people. It's about taking that those important steps to ensure that young people are being engaged and that we're hitting our mark on all those levels. And I'm happy to take any questions if councillors have, but I think I've spoken for probably my allotted time.
Okay, any questions? Melanie.
Sorry, struggling to unmute myself. Thank you very much, Matt. This, just so that I'm clear, is this the policy, or is there any concrete plans? Like, have you liaised with any groups? Have you thought of any activities or any of that? Is it just a policy?
So we, as part of the process, we did have some outreach with local groups, and we had our youth engagement survey, which brought in quite a lot of useful feedback. The remit of the working group was just to put together the policy itself. So in terms of following up on specifics, that's been that was sort of beyond the remit of the working group, but it's something that I'd be very keen to keep working towards. And as I say, I know that the building blocks for that were put in place in the sort of research that we did and the initial conversations that we've had.
John?
Thank you. I think actually my two questions have been answered. Firstly, Matt answered the first one, which was who was defined as young people, and you referred to people in their teens or 20s. That's clear. It's just that someone in the street the other day referred to me as a young man. So I just wanted to so sure I wasn't included in that group. The second one was the questions asked by Melanie, which is where were we on thinking about specifics here, because yes, we've got this in. I think it's important now we keep some momentum with this. Now we've started this, and it would be good to see some specifics moving forward.
Okay, Melanie?
Yeah, sorry, if I may make a suggestion, for example, I mean, with the Scouts, we're now moving probably back to live events, but I don't know, those are brilliant youth groups that already have got connections with the town council, because they sometimes come for visits, and it tends to be the younger groups that have come in the past. But I think it would be really good to get, I don't know if you're in contact with Russell, but it's those type of things that are really easy youth groups, and there's many others like the Colts and things like that. And that is the teenager, but you're starting at 13 with this group, aren't you? It's 13 upwards, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. No, that would be great. I think it's a great idea. It's a group that does get forgotten easily, and yeah, I'd love to see stuff for them.
Okay, Paul, then Roger. Paul.
Yeah, thank you. I was chatting to Harriet and Faye the Saturday before last at the testing centre, and of course they're both part of the events team, and they're both considerably younger than vast majority of the people on this call, with some exceptions. They were hugely enthusiastic about the opportunity for events, specifically in Rothamsted Park, coming, hopefully, if we can take the transfer from 1st of April. I just wondered if we could, out of this meeting, charge them with making sure that within their first thoughts about what new events they could put on, to make sure that, that they take in consideration of an event that might be more attractive for that age group than we've done previously. So something, obviously we've got things like the carnival and stuff, not the carnival, the Highland Gathering and other things in there, but something else. I just thought that might be useful.
Thanks, Paul. Roger?
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, well done to Matt and the working party, because I do get it. I think this is the right approach. In other words, it's a reminder, do remember the young, rather than just being a few specific events, which once we've done them once or twice, then we'd stop doing them and everyone would forget about it. So this is the right approach. Thank you very much. One particular idea, because it's partly about communication, given the target audience, is whether to try to get a notice board for engagement with youth in the new leisure centre, because that's the age group that might go along there to use the gym. And I don't mean a general Harpenden Town Council notice board, because if we have that, then all of them won't have one as well. That's not my point. My point is something specifically for the Town Council to engage the youths that as you define them. That might be something to explore, because they're not going to stop and look outside the town hall. well, very unlikely to, but they may well, in numbers, be going to the new leisure centre. My third point, and I don't want to detract from the importance of this, is language. If you forgive me, in paragraph 2, you refer to youth settings. Now, we hear a lot in the media at the moment about settings, school settings, there's medical settings, there are other settings, and I've checked the dictionary just now. It's not really the proper use of the word settings. I have in front of me on my computer screen microphone settings and video settings, but actually youth settings, what on earth does that mean? And what are we trying to say? And should we really be talking about youth groups? Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Right. I think if there's no more questions, and there doesn't seem to be, I think we've been asked to approve the policy as set out in Appendix A. I think we seem to be, everybody so far has been broadly in favour. Could I have a show of hands, please, for those who would like to approve the policy? And that's unanimous. So I think, Matthew, I'd like to congratulate you and your group for the policy, and I'm pleased that you've put together item 6, which shows that that's going to be followed through. And I hope the same group will follow through and make sure that items 1 to 5 are actually implemented. As we come out of lockdown, it's the most appropriate time. Thank you for coming tonight and talking about it. Okay, if we move on then to agenda item 7.5, the citizens' advice update. This is the standard report we get about the citizens' advice in Albans District drop-in service. First of all, are there any questions? No? If there are no questions, then can I ask you to note the report? Right. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you all. And I think we have actually finished our meeting in half an hour, which must be a first.
Might be a record.
That's a record. I'm sure you've all got things you want to be getting on with tonight. So thank you all for your contribution, and I look forward to our next meeting in, I believe it's June.